Section 2. Amending the Constitution. The amendment process. The ways in which Congress and the states can amend the Constitution is spelled out in Article 4. There are two methods that can be used, but the only one that has been used is Congress proposes the amendment and the states ratify it by a 3/4 vote of the state legislatures, or a ratifying convention. Congress determines how much time the states have to ratify the amendment.
Amendment is a change. Now, the framers didn't want to make it too easy to change the Constitution. I mean, after all, anything too easy to change wouldn't hold much water. That's why they went with a two-stage amendment process.
The two stages of the Constitution's amendment process are proposal and ratification. Proposals are like, hey, why don't we make such and such a change to the Constitution? Ratification is like, hey, that's a great idea, let's go ahead and make that change. Each stage can occur in two different ways. Let's start with the proposal process. Amendments to the Constitution can be proposed two ways. First, there can be a 2/3 vote in both houses of Congress. Or second, 2/3 of the state legislatures can vote to have Congress call for a National Amendment Proposal Convention.
That second proposal method has never been used, but it's nice to have around because it can be pulled out to whip Congress into action should they not take it upon themselves to propose a constitutional change.
The second half of the two-stage amendment process is ratification. There are two ways ratification occurs. Both ways rest squarely on the shoulders of the states.
The first way constitutional amendments are ratified or approved is by a favorable vote in 3/4 of all state legislatures. The second way is for each state to call a special ratifying convention. If 3/4 of all these state conventions vote in favor of the amendment, then the amendment is in.
It's important to remember that in the 200-year history of the United States, the Constitution has only been amended 27 times, which tells you how good a job the Founding Fathers did when they wrote this stuff in the first place.
Of all the amendments, only one has been repealed or overturned.
Things were looking up. Legal beer was back.
The 18th Amendment, which outlawed the consumption and sale of alcoholic beverages, was ratified in 1919. After a few years, the country decided that prohibition just didn't work.
Beer was back after 13 years. A long time between drinks.
But the only way to repeal an amendment to the Constitution is with another amendment to the Constitution. The 21st Amendment, which made alcohol legal again, was ratified in 1933. So now we have two amendments that just cancel each other out.
Informal changes. Congress has passed laws that have changed or clarified the Constitution. Congress has shaped the Constitution by using the powers granted to the legislative branch. Informal presidential changes. The Constitution did not outline the process of presidential succession, but the Vice President established the precedent when William Henry Harrison passed away in office in 1841. Presidents have used executive agreements instead of treaties because they do not require congressional approval. Modern presidents have also proposed their own legislation to Congress.
Yesterday, I announced new proposals to better protect Americans from identity theft and ensure our privacy, including making sure that our kids are safe from digital marketing and intrusions on their privacy based on what they're doing at school.
Court decisions. The Supreme Court has the power of judicial review to interpret the Constitution. Court decisions often reflect the attitude of the times.
This is a CBS News special report. I'm Charlie Rose with Nora O'Donnell and Gail King in New York. A Supreme Court ruling announced minutes ago extends same-sex marriage in America. The justices ruled 5-4 that states do not have the right to outlaw same-sex unions. The High Court also ruled that all 50 states must recognize same-sex marriages performed in other states.
Changes through custom and usage. Political parties today play a major role in elections and have a huge impact on government, even though they are not mentioned in the Constitution. Section 4. The Amendments. The Bill of Rights. The first amendment to the Constitution, the first 10 amendments, rather, to the Constitution, are the Bill of Rights. And they were originally intended to apply to the federal government, but now they apply to the state governments as well. The First Amendment protects individuals' freedom of religion, free speech, right to assemble, and the right to petition and criticize government. The Second Amendment protects the right to bear arms. The Third Amendment prohibits the government from requiring people to provide accommodations for soldiers in their homes. The Fourth Amendment protects citizens from unlawful searches and seizures. The Fifth Amendment protects individuals accused of a crime. They must be indicted by a grand jury before a trial. If found innocent, they cannot be tried again for the same crime, cannot be forced to testify against oneself, and cannot be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. The Sixth Amendment guarantees the accused of the right to know the charges against them, defense attorney, speedy trial by jury, and the right to question all witnesses and compel them to testify. The Seventh Amendment provides the right to settle property disputes by a jury, although it can be settled by a judge if both parties agree. The Eighth Amendment protects people from excessive bail or fines, and against cruel and unusual punishments. The Ninth Amendment says that all powers not spelled out by the Constitution are retained by the people. The 10th Amendment states that all powers not granted to the federal government are retained by the states or the people. Other amendments. The 11th Amendment prohibits the residents of one state from suing another state. The 12th Amendment says that the Electoral College will cast separate ballots for president and vice president. The 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments outlawed slavery, prohibited depriving anyone of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, and prohibited denying the right to vote based on race. The 16th through the 27th Amendments cover a wide range of topics relevant to the times that they were passed. Alexis de Tocqueville. Tocqueville wrote about his travels through America during the 1830s in Democracy in America. Tocqueville saw democracy as an equation that balanced liberty and equality, concern for the individual as well as the community.